Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee in the Corral. I have a beautiful woman with me here today. Welcome, Jennifer.
Good morning.
She's so subdued right now. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back. Our special guest for today is my wonderful and amazing partner, Jennifer, and there's several reasons why I wanted to have her on my podcast this week. One of them being that it is Pride Month. So happy Pride Month, everybody.
Jennifer, my shirt.
Jennifer's got her shirt on. What's it say?
It says "Be You."
It says "Be You," and it's got a really cool rainbow on it. And I'm so happy she's wearing that because we're going to be talking about that today.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the other reason is because she just had a birthday, people. Let's ask her how old she is.
No,
okay,
that's
sorry.
not fair.
Okay, that's not fair. I didn't know the rules. Okay.
I didn't either, but I just decided that's not fair.
So she had a birthday last week and turned fabulous 50. And I know she doesn't look 50 at all, but who gets to say what 50 looks like? Maybe we should dig into that just a little bit. It's kind of funny how we're like, you don't look your age, or you look more than your age, or I don't know.
Weird.
It is kind of weird. But yeah, so we're going to be asking her some questions today, and I hope you guys had a great week. We had a pretty good week, huh?
We did.
Yeah,
It was a really good week.
It was a really good week.
Yeah.
I had some fun triathlon training. Jennifer helped me with that this week. Actually on your birthday.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Well, where I work, you get your birthday off paid, and so it worked out really nicely that I was off on the day that you wanted to do your triathlon practice.
Yeah.
So I got to help with that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Really fun.
Couldn't have done that without you. She kind of shuttled me from place to place and my stuff to practice my transitions, and it was, it was fun. It was tiring, but it was fun to try it out and realize, like, I'm still alive.
And that you can do it.
Yeah.
You were nervous beforehand.
I was.
And then
I thought I might drown.
It. Yeah.
So, anyways, I have some questions for you.
Okay.
She doesn't even know what these questions are. That's the fun thing about this podcast. Like, this is hot off the press. How does 50 feel?
It feels better than I expected it to.
Say more.
I think really my hesitation with even saying that I'm 50 was because of other people's perceptions of what 50 is. But then, we did some things this week that were really good reminders for me that number doesn't really matter, except for maybe that I'm doing really well for being 50 instead of feeling old for being 50.
Yeah. So when you say the messages that kind of, I think, are probably very prevalent in all of our society is just that 50 is old.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to say that they're 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I remember growing up, it was 40. Everybody gave everybody over the hill parties and delivered black balloons.
Yes,
it was the beginning of the end.
Yes.
And that's changed over time, but I feel like 50 is like the new 40 as far as people's perspectives. I even have friends who are the same age as me, and they're like, I'm getting old. And I tell them, don't say that. I'm the same age as you are. How rude.
It's like them looking at you and saying, you're getting old.
Yeah, I don't like it. They might feel old, but I don't want to feel old. My goal is to feel healthy and happy and have energy, and what they mean by old when they say old is tired and worn out and unhealthy.
Yes.
And I don't want that for myself, so I don't like it when they say that.
Yeah. And I think the neat thing that I see you discovering is that 50 does not have to mean that. 50 can mean the complete opposite.
Right.
You get to choose what 50 means.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I thought, it did used to be the 40s. I remember the same messages growing up, even though I grew up in a cult. It was the same thing. Still, 40s was a big deal. But now it's people get married older in life now, and they're having babies in their 40s and older on. So it's kind of interesting because that bar kind of went up, And I think part of this too, there's so many women that, I hear talk about really finding themselves in their, 40s and 50s and 60s even. And so it's realizing that life is not absolutely over. And in some ways, it's this new amazing beginning because you're not so insecure. You're starting to actually become grounded in who you are.
Yeah, you have different values, I think. The things that are important to you and the things that you really value change over time. And people act like change is a bad thing, but the reality is, like, why would we want to stay the same person as we grow and mature and experience life more? Why would we stay the same?
Yes, it doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. Nothing else in the world stays the same.
Nothing. Exactly.
But yet we're expected to, like, choose our thoughts about life and our beliefs about the world and our beliefs about ourselves and all the things when we're in our late teens, early 20s, and then we're supposed to stay that way the rest of our lives.
Well, it's like when you're little, people say, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
What do you want to be when, sorry, not really who, but what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
And then, like, once you grow up and you get married and you figure your job and have kids, like, that is, you stay stuck in that, which is just weird, because anybody that sees a pond that's like just algae and stagnant and stinky, like, nobody is like, yeah, let's swim in that. Right. It's like, ew.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like, nature speaks of constant evolution.
Yeah, it's growth and movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to talk about that, because I was thinking, so I made this, I want to say it was a very simple, innocent mistake, but Jennifer didn't maybe quite feel that so much. I said, so like you're 50 now, does that mean like you're a century? And then
it wasn't funny.
She's like, you just made me 100. So anyways, I'm sorry. Half a century. So I was like, you think about 50 is this halfway mark if you live to 100, which it's rare, so I'm not sure why that's a halfway mark, but you cut that in half and you look back to your 25-year-old self. What would you, knowing now with the experiences that you've been through in your life, in your 20s, you're so much still kind of soul searching and insecure and trying to find who you are. Come here a minute, you got a mosquito or something on you.
Oh no.
Got it. To like being 50, there's so much negative connotation about that, but it's really sad because being 50, like, you're a completely different person and you don't have all of this stuff that you just were like floundering and trying to find your way in your life when you're 25. So if you could talk back to your 25-year-old self, and I feel like the gold to this is that other young people listening who might be in their 20s be like, what would she say to me? Like, what might be something that would be helpful to them in their 20s?
I think the biggest thing is to just listen to what's happening inside of you. Like, I see the life that I have now, like, for me, between 45 and 50 was this period of searching and feeling unfulfilled and still trying to bear the weight of so many expectations. And I look back and I realize that there were these things inside of me all along from the time I was in my early 20s, but I was just, either I told myself or other people told me, or both, that those things were dangerous and bad and to not listen to that because those aren't wisdom. But now I realize, like, I could have listened to those more, and it doesn't mean you go do everything that comes through your mind.
Sure.
But if I had known to dig into those and figure out what does that mean for me, then I think I would have built a life that was more fulfilling as far as how I cared for myself.
Beautiful.
Because the other thing is that, like, I was thinking about this morning, just getting ready, and thinking about this podcast and stuff. And I was just thinking about the concept I've heard people talk about, like, on other podcasts or in books or whatever, but other people can only love you as well as you love yourself. And I was just thinking through that, like, do I believe that that's true, or what do I think about that? And what I do know is true is that I set the tone for how well other people love me.
Wow.
And so if I don't teach them what my boundaries are, and know myself well enough to know what is fulfilling to me and what's not fulfilling to me, then I'm going to end up, and I did end up in a dynamic that was the complete opposite of that.
Yep.
So one thing was I didn't know myself well enough because I didn't dig into all those things that would come up inside me, and I would push back down because I would shame myself and think I was bad, and it was, you know, the flesh and the world, and not honoring to God and all of those things. But I think now I'm trying to go back and show people how I want to be loved and how I want to be, even little things like how I want people to interact with me. And it's really, really hard to go back because people don't know what to do with that, and it messes with your relationships.
Sure.
And it's never too late. But at the same time, if you can learn those things earlier, then we would be able to focus our energy and our time and our efforts on other things. You know, instead of trying to heal ourselves and figure out who we want to be and all of that stuff.
You mentioned that thing of, like, you know, in your relationships, there's this dynamic, and then both people in the relationship are used to things being a certain way, and they do this and you do this, and so it's like, it's how things work. And then when you change that up, it's just like, what the fuck, you just like, but this is how you've always been, this is the way you've always done, and so now you're going to change this. And I think you've got a lot of that pushback.
A ton.
Why now are you going to, you know, you used to always do this and now you're not, like, what is this, who are you? And so much anger and frustration at you because they feel like they're losing you instead of seeing the truth, which is you're changing. And had you given yourself permission to change all along, that would have continually evolved. But we get stuck in this one way of being in our relationships in our life, and like you're saying, like, that's what we're taught to.
People feel abandoned and betrayed by me.
Yes.
And I understand that. Because part of that is what I taught them. You know, and what I allowed. But if I had known myself better earlier, and I had allowed myself to continue using my voice, then, you know, I think a lot of things would be different. Do I want to go back to my 20s and 30s? No.
Hell no.
But do I want to reflect back on that season and learn from that and allow it to form who I am now? Absolutely.
Yes.
Because if I don't learn from all those things, then that means all of that time was just like weird memories that are good memories, but they're also clouded by trying to fulfill myself and my needs in ways that weren't healthy.
There's that saying, I think it's Rupi Kaur, that says the way you love yourself is the way you teach others how to love you. But, you know, growing up not being taught to love yourself, and being taught to not trust yourself. So then you're not, you know, you don't have boundaries, and you don't have this like firm, this is who I am, and this is what I expect, and this is how I expect to be treated. And people just get to do whatever the shit they want. You know, and you still have to bend over backwards, and that's something I'd talk to my kids about, even, is like, I want them to, I feel like if they can value themselves, like, and trust themselves. I always say, like, the answers are inside you. I don't know the answers for your life. You do. And it's like, if we had that, oh my gosh.
And I think that's the key component, that when you just said it, I was like, that's it. Like, people would look at my old life and they would say, well, you cared for yourself, you know, and I had the ability to go do all kinds of things. And if I needed the afternoon to take care of myself, I could voice that and say, hey, I need some time for myself, or whatever. But what I didn't have that was missing, that I think was the biggest component, is I was never taught to trust myself. So I could meet my physical needs, like if I needed rest, or if I needed to go find something fun to do, or hang out with friends, or whatever. But I never trusted myself at the core of who I was. And so even caring for myself looked like, from the outside, I was being cared for. But I would do all of those things, and then I still wouldn't feel different inside. Because I wasn't able to look at those deeper needs, you know, and I felt helpless when I did sense those, I felt helpless to do anything about it because I had already, committed myself to a marriage and adopted children and all of those things. And so life turns into one of those just like make the best out of it sort of situations.
Yep.
And then I just found myself shriveling up inside, and it was just, I felt so trapped and it didn't feel like life in there.
Wow.
And that, I think, all came from not trusting myself.
Yes.
And not being taught to trust myself, because I was taught in the, evangelical Christian church movement, that everything about myself and personhood is bad and not to trust it.
Yes.
To only trust the spirit, not to trust the flesh.
Yes.
Yes. And so...
Which translates like as to us, our body, so if our body's having some sort of reaction, instead of being like, wait a minute, it's my body saying no, it's like, oh, that's my flesh.
Right.
Just not wanting to do the hard thing that I should do.
Or I need to find the peace of God to overcome those things.
Yes.
Like, even if I'm stressed or whatever, it's because I'm not trusting God enough, because I'm not letting go. I'm trying to be in control.
Yep. You got to pray harder.
All the things. So now I find myself like, somebody that I love will message me or something like that and ask me a question, and it's hard for me because I'm trying to honor what's happening in here. But if I say something doesn't feel right about that for me, I need to take a little time and dig into that, because I've committed to myself not to push past that. Then those people feel devalued. And I take responsibility that I've partially taught them that, because I would respond immediately with whatever I thought was the right thing to do, or with whatever was going to be immediately fulfilling to me. And so it's hard for me to use my voice and say to people, like, I don't know, there's something in me that doesn't feel right. I need to take some time about that, and for people to understand that it's about me. It's not an offense to anybody. It's just about me learning to honor myself. And to listen to myself.
But what a beautiful thing, and what a beautiful gift to be able to, tell other young people. Like, you actually not only can you, but you should. Like, you have permission to tell people with no explanation, that doesn't feel right. I'll get back with you when I feel like it. The end. And like, it's not offensive, it's just the truth.
In some text messages, I don't respond for a week. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Because I used to respond immediately to everything. And so they wouldn't respond to me for a week or even a month. And they just say, oh, sorry. And so now I take a week or two to respond, and I don't say, oh, sorry, because I'm working really hard to not be sorry about caring for myself. And then they just don't understand at all. I know. They feel rejected, and all of that makes me sad, but I'm committed to honoring myself first,
That's awesome.
It's been an interesting journey. It's also been fun, though, to encourage the young people that I do know, and not even the young people. Hi there.
She's really supporting you.
Yes, she's being
Rayanna,
very
if
supportive.
you're not watching the video, which you should, but if you're not, Rayanna is standing behind Jennifer with her muzzle literally on her head.
Hi, Rayanna.
It's like, I got your head.
Girl.
I got your back.
She's giving me some love. But
even, you said not just to young people, but...
Not just young people. Like, I'll have a few friends that I'll be texting with, and they're going through a difficult season. I have one friend whose mother passed away, and she said it's been really, really hard, and I just seem to struggle when I don't expect it, and trying to get all the arrangements done. And I was able to message her back and just say, hey, take a minute to be kind to yourself. And she texted me back and she said, thanks for the reminder. I'll try to do that. To be aware enough to know that that she's probably trying to take care of everybody else and not herself. So those moments are fun. Or the young people that I work with, that are in their 20s or even 30s. I feel like
she's chewing in your ear. she's chewing in your ear, and now she's about to lick your head. You can ask for space if you want some.
I know I can. I shooed her away earlier already. But even being able to say to young people, like, hey, it's okay that you feel that way. It's not even just okay, it's good. Like, listen to that. and
Yep.
being able to be that voice in their lives, that part really excites me. And it's
Yeah.
really cool to be able to be that person that says something different than what I always heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot here just a little bit. I want to talk about, not just turning 50, but this new stage in your life, this new embracing fully of your true self, discovering, exploring your desires and your dreams and what you want for your life, and building all of that. Rena's like, you can move my head, but not my body.
Feet,
Trevor's trying to
move
shoo
the
her away.
feet.
You can tap her on the side of the shoulder.
Come on, go.
Come on, Ray.
Good
Rena
girl.
is hard to move sometimes. There we go.
She's a strong-willed
Dave
woman.
was like, coming in. Coming in hot.
and then my watch just told me to breathe.
Dave was fair to back up. Jennifer's watch was like, breathe. Oh my God. What a mess. Okay.
No, you didn't.
So this, of course, I'm sure you could have never pictured this is where you'd be at when you turn 50. But you mentioned something to me that your therapist said to you, I think it was last week, about this, because you said something about second chances, and then she made a correction on that.
Yeah.
And so I thought maybe you could talk with us a little bit about, and I think that ties into this being Pride Month, and just learning to embrace yourself and the guilt that comes with it, and then struggling to put words to it and understand it. And I loved her correction of the second chances thing, so I thought maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. There's so much I could say about that, because there's so much I'm learning about that and trying to apply to my life. But I said something to her the other day about really wrestling with guilt, because the life that I'm building for myself now is completely different. And in some ways I feel guilty because this new life, I think, I feel guilty having what I want that doesn't include other people or other things that used to be a huge part of my life.
Sure.
And so there's this voice in my head that tells me I've abandoned everybody, and that, a lot of people have told me I'm selfish. And so it's hard to shake that, that voice in your head. And I said something about, like, I feel guilty for seizing this second chance to do things differently and new, and even with different people.
Yeah.
And my therapist said, hold on, let's maybe choose a different word, because the word chance means you need another chance because you screwed up the first one. And she said, none of these changes mean you screwed up the first time. You just changed, or you're different, or you know things about yourself. So she encouraged me to think about it as a second opportunity, like seizing a new opportunity to do things differently than I've had the opportunity to in the past. And so that's been really cool, and she's just talked to me about guilt and shame, and I realized that a lot of the guilt and shame that I carry is because not only do I know what most of the old cast in my life, what's happening in their thoughts and in their hearts. I know that because I was them, and a lot of that I taught to them. And I know if I had been the old me looking at the new me, the judgments that I would have placed on me.
Yes.
Because of the judgments that I placed on other people.
Sure.
And I was always very kind and very valuing to people. I always felt good about myself in that respect, that I could see the person outside of the sinfulness or the worldliness.
Exactly. That was in quotations, by the way, people.
Yes. But now that I am that other person, I see how, like, the lack of affirmation was really devaluing.
Yes.
And so it's hard for me to not affirm myself. It's hard for me to not put all of the guilt and the shame and the old ways of thinking, hi Ray, she's back, onto myself.
Yes.
So it's like I don't even need anybody else to shame me. I'm self-shaming.
Yep.
And so I'm trying really hard right now to live in the present and live in the enjoyment of the present instead of the prior thoughts I would have had that would have been shaming and guilt-provoking and not valuing or honoring to me as a person.
Yes.
You know, that I'm allowed to have my wants, I'm allowed to have my desires, I'm allowed to have all of those things, and I shouldn't feel guilty for them.
At all.
No.
Yeah.
And it robs me of the joy of the life I'm building right now when I get too far sucked down that hole. It's really hard, and I know because I start getting reflux.
Interesting.
Right. And I'm learning to listen to my body. So when that reflux starts, I'm like, oh gosh, I need to do some searching. I need to ask myself some hard questions and figure out what my body is trying to tell me.
How do you not get sucked in by that guilt? Or when you find yourself starting to get sucked down those holes, how do you combat that? I think a lot of us have that.
It's taking inventory of my thoughts, of my deep inner thoughts that we're not even really cognizant of a lot of times.
Yes.
And affirming to myself what I now believe about myself and about the world. And then sometimes that doesn't do it for me. Honestly, like I try on my own. And if I'm still really wrestling, I'll go to you or I'll talk to my therapist and I'll just tell them, hey, I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
And letting somebody else who knows me well, somebody else who knows me well and knows my heart and my history, speak into that, speak some truth into that situation and just help me remember.
Yes.
And
I think like you just hit on it. I think what helps you always is to remember, the truth. Because it's like, that's all I ever do. I don't like have any magic words, and your therapist is the same way. Like, we just remind you what's actually true, because all of the guilt and the shame are just negative messages that we've been taught to think a certain way. And so we shame and judge ourselves without even realizing it until we're in this huge shame spiral. But like remembering, oh wait, this is what's true. And like you're saying, it's like helping you to come back to the present moment. We're like, do you love your life? And how do you feel? And does this feel good to you? Well, yes. Then why is that bad? You know, like
it's like somebody to balance all that negative thinking and all of that shameful thinking to balance and help me ground myself back into the present. You know, instead of, because it's like your heart and your thoughts start living in the past, and that's what dumps all this on you, you know. And so if I can't find enough of those grounding thoughts to hang on to, then having somebody who will just repeat to me what I already know, what I have told them as my truth. You know, it's not even you or my therapist or anybody putting their truths on me. It's what I have told them. And I have a couple of friends that are, you know, like that too. Like they'll affirm what I want for myself. I chose it. They're just helping me remember that not only did I choose it, that it's good that I chose it. You know, I have one friend who always tells me she's proud of me. And I'm like, I don't know why you keep saying that, because the old parts of me are like, well, I mean, accepting is one thing, but being proud of me?
That feels mind-blowing.
Just crazy.
Interesting.
So I'm happy you challenged me actually the last time that I really just got sucked into the whole shame thing. You challenged me to ask myself why I'm proud of myself and to start thinking about being proud of myself, you know. And then I told my therapist that when I went to counseling, and she was like, yes, absolutely. Like, you know, it's like my little cheerleading squad when it comes to some of those things, who are going to cheer me on in the new way of thinking and in the new way of living. And just really.
And I think that, you know, it's also not just, well, you chose these and, you know, like reminding you of that, but it's also like, it's wonderful that you're choosing what you want. Have we ever been told that? Like never. Like not just, well, this is what you've chosen, and so, you know, but it's like, look at you. You're fucking going after what you want. Like, that's something to be really proud of. It takes a lot of guts to go after something you want. Because God, does everybody else want to be like, hey, If I can't do that, you can't do that. You know, it's like that whole thing of,
Right.
how dare you?
Well,
How audacious.
And even people cheering me on that I'm in the space where I don't know what I want. And that it's okay. Instead of saying, well, this is what I've always believed. This is what everybody expects of me.
Yes.
Like me being able to be in the space, like we've talked about life after death. You know, what do we believe? And we don't solve it for each other.
No.
Because we've both made space for each other to just not know and to just explore and to figure out what we think about it.
Yeah.
And it's scary for people. They're afraid of what they don't understand.
Right. If you can't package it up neatly,
Right.
it's a really scary thing.
And a lot of my answers right now are, I don't know. Like I've built the parts of my life that I do know that I want.
Yeah.
But there are other parts that I don't know what I believe. And I'm okay not knowing. I've never been able to live in this space where I just don't know, and I don't need to know today.
Yep. What a beautiful freedom, though.
Right.
That to me sounds like freedom.
Yeah.
To be able to be in the present moment and be okay with not having this huge plan and everything all lined out. And so I have to make these kind of choices so that I get to, this will lead me to point A, and then point A leads me to point B. Like, how, what an amazing freedom to be able to go, today I choose this.
Right.
And it feels right in my body. And then tomorrow we'll see how I feel. And we'll see what I choose. Like, that's awesome.
It is. And some of the things are just super simple, things, but they're what I choose, and I'm finding pleasure in them. And like, even I'll be at work and I'll say, I'm gonna go scoop poop now, and everybody's like, what? But I find joy in it. That's something that you and I do together a lot, and I get to be outside more. And
the
like,
horses.
It's fun because the horses are used to me being present now, and so there's just a lot of things from it that I really enjoy.
Yes.
And so other people don't have to understand why something as simple as scooping poop is like therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
But it is. And so I'm just like, this is what I'm going to do. Getting up at the crack of dawn to go swimming.
Yep.
And, getting to work and being tired. People would be like, why did you get up so early? But the fact is, it's because I wanted to. And it was worth it to me to be tired, but then to think about why I'm tired is a really good reason. I'm just saying yes to things more now.
Awesome.
Not the things of, will you do this for me? Will you do that for me? But do you want to do this? Yes.
You're saying yes to you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
what a beautiful thing. This
I'm sure completely baffling to a lot of people right now.
But it's okay. We've talked about people don't have to understand.
No.
And really they can't understand specifically our situation unless they experienced it.
No.
And it's also, for us, it's like being okay with them not understanding. It's okay.
Right.
Like, you don't get it, you won't get it.
You don't have to get
You don't have to get it. I don't expect you to get it.
Right.
But this is amazing for me. And I'm choosing this because it feels great to me.
I think people who've known me in the past or have just met me and know that I just turned 50, and that my whole life is different, see me as this 50-year-old wild child. And it's so funny to me, because I've always had a little bit of that spirit or that nature, but it just looks so differently now because I'm like, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and
it's funny because I was thinking this morning, talking about being the wild child, and I think about everything all of the changes that both of us and my family included have made in the past year even. People would look at us and do look at us and think, God, they've really gone off the rails.
Yes,
and that whole thing gone off the rails. And so it's like, for me, I pay attention to these things and I really start digging into gone off the rails. So I picture this train on these tracks, these railroad tracks, and they're lined up, and everywhere you see railroad tracks, either a train has and still is traveling on them, or at some point has traveled on them. But railroad tracks are very predictable.
Yes.
The engineer's not up there oh crap, got a turn coming up. Okay, well, no, straighten out. Oh crap, the train just goes on the tracks. He's not steering.
Right.
The train stays on the tracks.
Yes.
Not even the engineer has to worry. Okay,
all
right, some fighting happening. Come here. Rayanne is really bossy sometimes. She just chased all the other horses away. And then Deo is police officer backup dog. So he rushes into it, and his eyes save the day, which just creates more drama. Sorry, girls. So not even engineers steering, and they're just very predictable. And so to go off the rails is like, oh shit, can you just imagine there's this train coming in? Holy crap! It just jumps the tracks. The
conductor's like, hold on, folks.
Yes, everyone, hang on to your rails or your seatbelts or whatever. I don't know what they have in trains, but the train jumps off the tracks and goes through the fields and across the cities. Like, it would be so scary, right? So I was like, but that's the thing and that's what scares people, is when it's you become unpredictable to them. But yeah, like I'm at the point in my life too where I'm realizing I do not want to fucking ride the railroad tracks anymore. Yes, I've gone off the trails. You know how tired I am of going on the same exact route? I've been doing this a long time. Jump the rails, people. Like that's just.
Well, it's like yesterday, even when we were hiking, and I think it's just a good picture of how we've been living life the last year and a half. We were hiking and we stopped by this giant rock, and I said, "Do you want to climb this rock?" And you were like, "Do you want to climb this rock?" I do, actually. And it ended up being really fun. And I could have said, like, no, I can't. I'm not strong enough, or I haven't climbed a rock in years.
Which is what you would have said.
Right.
So that's why it surprised me. I just want you guys, I want to paint this picture of it. We went hiking for her birthday, which is a different Jennifer, because when I first met her, she wanted to like go to the movies and shop. That was her ideas of something fun to do for the day.
Yeah.
And but this year I was like, hey, what do you think about hiking? She said, yeah, let's do hiking. So we went hiking. We hiked for miles for her birthday, and we thought we may not get to do it because it was supposed to be a rainy day, and it was awesome because the rain.
Of course, so one day it was going to rain.
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't rained in forever.
Weeks.
So she was actually discouraged because I was like, we could go walk around some stores. She's like, all day? So she's just changed, evolved.
I have no money and I don't need anything, so what in the world would we do?
She didn't love to be outside, and she definitely didn't love exercising. And now there she is hiking around all day. We passed this huge boulder, and she's like, you want to climb the rock? I was like, do you want to climb the rock? And she said, yes, I do. I'm like, oh my God. So then she starts scaling up this rock. I'm like, let me hold your phone. And up she scrambles like a little mountain goat. And she stands at the top. I'm like, who is this woman? It was amazing. You just blew my mind. But that's just another picture of like, why? Why do we have to stay the same? And why does getting older mean you do less? Like, no, it means whatever you want it to mean. And she has just taken life by the scruff of the neck and said, you know what? It's my turn. It's like, she threw the engineer out and said, we're going off the rails.
And then we had a lot of fun on top of that rock. He climbed up there with me. And
it was so fun.
I would have done that in my early 30s. Like, because we used to go to Colorado every year. And I remember the year that I had adopted Tyler and I started having like major muscle spasms and stuff. And my doctor said, you need to go to the gym and I want you to gain 10 pounds of muscle in the next month. And I did it. And then that summer we went to Colorado and there were 75 of us hiking and I was the 5th one to the top. And I absolutely loved it. I was so excited. And we would get paired up with one of the teens, and I got paired up with one of the teen boys from the football team who was like super popular and super athletic. And he kept saying, Jen, hey, let me hold your backpack for a second while you do that. And I tell him, no, I'm carrying my own backpack. He wanted to pick me up and throw me over his shoulder and carry me. And I said, absolutely not. I am getting up there by myself, because I knew how good I would feel once I did it by myself, you know? And so kind of getting back to some of that where like I had the confidence in myself, even if it was hard or whatever, that I could dig deep enough to do it.
Yes. But when I met you,
I had given up all of that.
You had given up on life, living it basically. Not just that, like it wasn't just you, because I remember the, you know, your other family members making comments about you. And even when you started biking 3 years ago, like they're like, Mom, you got a bike, or what do you...
Well, that's not going to last long.
Yeah,
Whatever.
and I just remember it made me so mad because I was like,
Yeah.
Nobody gets to tell you that you can't live life anymore and what your limits are. Only you get to choose what your limits are.
Yeah, and I was really discouraged because that was when you had started encouraging me to get moving again. And so I had you, this one voice who's saying, that's awesome, you rode 3 miles on your bike, and then everybody else was just like, yeah, that'll last 2 weeks. Which I know I get distracted and move on to things quickly. But like, instead of encouraging me and hoping that I would continue it.
Yes, and believing you.
Like, they just didn't believe it. And I did have one family member who came to me and said, I'm so sorry. I should have never made that comment. That wasn't uplifting for you or encouraging you to get healthy, which I really appreciated them coming and saying that.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was the first time I was willing to try something.
Yeah.
And step out of my resignation that I was never going to be able to move again.
Yes.
And
I think that was the beginning of you, I don't know, like starting to maybe build the life that you want and starting to like, you know what, I can be happy. I can do things. Even that was a very small step in that direction at the time. You still had a lot of other toxic dynamics going on in your life and toxic people in your life. Like that was a step towards that. That was like the beginning steps.
I think that was like the beginning of what I feel is like waking up.
Yes. It was like you were in this
like in a coma.
Depressed coma.
Yeah.
So talking about like, if somebody asked you, how do you identify as? Or what do you identify as, or who I'm not sure the proper question, but like, what would you tell them today?
Like, who am I?
Yeah, well, not who are you, but like, queer? Are you a lesbian? Like, are you non-binary? Like, what do you identify as today in your body of this really fully discovering yourself?
I definitely still identify as female, even though I look a lot different than I used to look. Like, from the outside, people would have described me in the past a lot girlier than I am now. As far as how I dress or how I do my hair or wear jewelry or, any of those kind of things. But I always think that the word queer, I like that word better.
Okay.
I used to, when they first started using that term, I didn't like it because I remember back in the day when they used to use that word as being weird.
Yes.
Or being gay. They'd say, she's a queer or he's a queer, you know what I mean? And they used the term really negatively. But I think that the LGBTQ community has taken that term and redefined it into something positive.
Yeah, something beautiful.
And I really like that because I struggle with everybody who's not heteronormative having to have a label so that people can still understand and define them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't love that. It just feels like going from one big box to a bunch of smaller boxes.
Yeah.
And so when people say they're queer, I just like that because it means like maybe I live outside of the typical box.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I get to just be who I am. And maybe for a couple years you're one way and then you realize there's also this about me.
Yes.
Then you don't have to change your label.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about how I'm defined. I do spend a lot of time trying to understand myself, but I don't think about really what label to put on
what exactly fits you, because does anything truly exactly fit anybody?
Right. Right. Yeah. So I mean, some people would say I'm a lesbian, and I mean, they can call me that, I guess, because I'm attracted to you, But at the same time, I don't need a label for that.
Yeah.
That's why I love these shirts that just say be you.
Yeah.
Instead of saying I'm this or I'm that or I'm this, because I really want to just celebrate, myself included, just being me.
Yes.
And not having to define for anybody what that means.
And I think it gives the freedom for fluidity.
Yeah.
And to be able to be, like you said, as you discover yourself, this, and then there's this part of me. And, what feels right today may change in a year or 2 or 10,
Right.
And that's how, like we've talked about, evolving. Like that's a beautiful part of life.
The freedom to just be who you are in whatever moment that you're in, you know, is, I think, really freeing for people.
Yeah.
It feels, to me, feels like freedom to just not have to choose a label.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It is in some ways really, I could see how the labels are affirming to people too.
Right.
You know, they're like, oh, it's not just me.
Right.
I'm not the only one who feels this way. And that's the struggle of like, am I the weirdo?
And for some people that brings a sense of comfort and belonging and understanding themselves and all of those things, you know. So but I just like the label that includes all of those.
She wants to be all things.
Yeah.
So, looking at this beautiful, bright future of yours, do you feel like it's beautiful and bright?
Oh, yeah, of course I do.
So, what are some of the goals that you have for yourself now that you are free to choose what you want and free to love who you want to love, and that you are able to trust yourself? Like, you have all of these beautiful tools now. What are some of the goals you have for your future moving forward from here?
I mean, there's internal goals.
Yeah.
And then there's practical external.
Well, shoot us. Give us a couple of those
types
maybe.
of goals. I mean, one of my big goals as far as internally goes is just to develop this unwavering trust in myself so that I can make decisions. Or, I mean, some days it just may be, what movie do I want to watch? Like, you know, right now I'm paralyzed by decisions, like, even by myself. So it's not all just what other people think or if they'll like the movie I picked or whatever, but it's just really hard for me right now to untangle and decipher what my wants and desires are, and to have wants and desires and to be able to just walk toward fulfilling those by myself. So I really want to continue. I feel like I trust myself a lot more now than I even did 6 months ago. Like, there's been a lot of change and growth in that area, but I want to keep moving toward that, you know. And I want to develop relationships that their deepest desire is to see me honor myself instead of for me to be who they expect me to be, or even that I've shown them that I am, because then I don't have the freedom to be anything else.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And then to just, you know, continue to develop our relationship and like our commitment. Part of our commitment to each other is to encourage each other to grow and to honor ourselves first. You know, and so to continue to develop in our relationship in a way that upholds that. But what that requires of me as well is to encourage you to honor yourself first means I have to learn to honor myself first. Yeah. You know,
that's a lot harder. It's a lot easier to tell your partner, you got to honor yourself than it is to just honor your own self. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, in that respect, it's just a lot more about honoring myself and trusting myself, and then all of the decisions that go with that are just decisions.
Sure.
You know, and they're ones that can change, and I don't know if that answered.
Okay, external. External.
Well, I don't know which ones I'm supposed to talk about, which ones I'm not supposed to.
She leaned back and her eyebrows raised up. Well,
is
there like secrets you have for now?
No, like,
hey, Fiona.
Just things that have been really private decisions up to this point.
Oh yeah, well, like,
what our life's
do you have any,
like
you just climbed a rock.
Yes.
She's started swimming, she's biking, which some of the presents I bought her for her birthday was to set her bike up so she can bike more. So she's got like the gear and all the gear that she needs.
Yeah, like continuing to get stronger and healthier so that I can like fully participate in life. You know, in life with myself and in life with you and in life with the rest of the family. Like, I want to just be able to be an active participant in life instead of, I had turned into a spectator
Yes.
And a lot of that had to do with being in pain.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand.
Oh.
Hi, Favors.
Ayana's coming to say hi.
I love you.
Hey. Oh.
I really love this relationship with this little pony. What happened?
Ayana's got a special place in Jennifer's heart. They've been working on their relationship.
Hi, sweet girl.
While Jennifer comes in here to scoop poop.
Yeah.
Ayana comes over and says hi, and Jennifer scratches her. And
yeah, she started coming into my space on her own, which is really...
That's her big gift.
That's a really big thing for her to come say hi like she just did.
Yes.
So, and now she's going to smack me with her tail. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't know that I had control over that. I was getting ready to have massive surgery on my hip because I was in so much pain I could hardly walk. But then, like, through meeting you, I learned how to eat differently. I also reduced a lot of stress in my life.
Yes,
and
that was the biggest thing.
There was one change that I made that I hadn't changed how I ate. I just started eating like half as many carbs, which shouldn't have done that much, which tells me it was mostly stress, but partly what I was putting in my body at that time. I lost 20 pounds within a matter of like 2 months.
Yeah. Yep.
So reducing the stress and then learning how to eat differently in a way that my body would feel cared for and not be reacting so much, to what I was putting in it, then allowed me to get moving more.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Just continuing to enjoy that and feel good in that and believe in myself enough to do it.
That's wonderful.
It's been really fun. We've had some really fun experiences together because I've been able to participate more.
Yes.
In things.
She was trying to take a picture yesterday on her birthday outing of this dragonfly, and I was standing behind her, and so I took a picture of her taking a picture, and then I showed it to her, and I said, "Look at your muscles," and because it was like the back of her arms, and she said, "I have a muscle." Where did that come from? I was like, "Look at you, hot. You're a hot woman." But you started going to the gym, so it's just awesome, and I always tell people that's a big thing, like, it's never too late. It's never too late to pick something up and to believe in yourself and to make the changes that are honoring to you, and like taking the stress out of your life that you do have control to take out. And and part of that, I think, was even coming to acceptance of how I'm wired and what makes me tick. Like, it's easy to beat myself up because you can hop on your bike and go out by yourself for hours and just enjoy the nature. I do.
And I do enjoy nature, but I'm a people person, and so I enjoy the interaction, which is weird because, like, even going to the gym on Wednesday nights, I don't pump iron with you and Nate. Like, I'm not there. So I go in a different room and use the machines, and you and Nate go in the big free weight room where all the muscly people go. But even knowing that I'm there with you guys and that I can pop in and see what you're doing, or that you'll stick your head in and see what I'm doing, like, for me makes it so much more enjoyable. But I thought for a long time that just meant I was less because I didn't find the same enjoyment that you find in solitude or the different things. And so, like, now just realizing, like, even if I'm working out so that you and I can go hike something harder, that it's okay for those to be my goals. And to enjoy being physically stronger and healthier, so that I can participate in more of life with you. Or
and it's okay that it's not this thing that you love to go do and want to do by yourself, but you're doing it for these goals and things to go do.
But that it also means I can, if I want to hop on my bike one day, if I get a wild hair and say, hey, I want to go bike by myself, like that, I can do it. And I don't have to just like tootle through town because it's flat enough. Or whatever. So I'm finding more peace within myself.
Awesome.
As I'm learning to do those things. And I'm also finding more acceptance within myself and learning myself. Like, there are some things that have just always been me that will continue to be me and how I'm wired. And those are good and okay. And I can learn how to how to be fulfilled in those areas while getting healthy or while doing whatever.
Yes. And that's, I think, like your shirt. It says it all. Be you. And that's the thing of, we so easily compare ourselves to other people.
Yes.
Well, if I don't operate this way and these things aren't meaningful to me, then I'm less than, or something's wrong with me. Like, no, we're all wired differently, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And finding the beauty in the way that we're wired, and finding a way to do things that work for us.
And I find myself thinking, even like Nate is a really good example of that. You know, because it's easy for me to think, well, the way you do it is the best way, and if I could be more like you, then that would be good or whatever. And then Nate's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. You know, and like he still honors himself.
Right.
He'll push himself or challenge himself.
He's
but
like, knock yourself out.
Like you were gonna one Saturday morning not long ago, you were gonna bike like 10 miles and then run 3 miles, and he knows what your biking 10 miles is. It's gonna be biking 10 miles at 15 plus miles an hour for 10 miles. And his comment was, yep, I'll see you when you're ready to start running. And he'll bike next to you while you run.
That's right.
You know, and
but no shame to his game.
Right. Just him knowing himself and valuing himself, and knowing that you will still value him. Right. And that I've seen you and heard you really value that he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So just being able to say, like, yep, this is what I know I can do, and this is what I just don't want to do.
Yes.
You know, and so, I mean, he made a comment one time about how he'd be laying on the side of the road eating his granola bar. When was that? When I biked home with you one day?
Yeah, you biked home and you're struggling to get up the hills. It was one of the first times you had biked.
She had to push me. She was on her bike with her shoes clipped into her clips on her road bike, balancing on those little skinny tires, pushing me
up the hills
so I wouldn't die.
They're big hills, people. Just to give her that. They're really big hills.
And I have since conquered those by myself.
She has.
But the fact that Nate was just like, yeah, I'd be laying there eating my granola bar.
We came home and telling Nate, and Jennifer was saying, Abigail had to push me up the hills. It was terrible. And Nate said, I'd have been at the bottom of the hill just eating a granola bar.
And the fact that, like, he has enough peace within himself to just not even feel like he should need to want to do that.
That's right.
But then there was me who I was like, it wasn't fun. I just was mad. Every time she had to push me, I was angry. But also knowing, like, that one of these days I'm going to make it up that hill by myself, and I'm going to be really proud of myself. Like, I had to just, like, set my determination, and I wanted to do it because I wanted to prove to myself that I could. Like, Nate didn't need that.
Yeah.
You know, but in that moment I did, and like 3 rides later, I was doing a lot better on those hills, and it felt really good.
Yes.
You know. So.
And I mean, you're like, when I think about, there's a lot of reasons why he wouldn't need that and why that'd be more meaningful to you. But for you in your life, like, you had kind of given up on being able to doing that.
Right.
And he's just like, I don't care to put any effort into that.
I could do it. I just don't want to.
And for you, it was like, you needed to know that, you know what, I can get there, and I'm going to get there. And she did, people, by the way, because the first time she rode that route to my house, like we talked about, I pushed her up the hills and we took a lot of breaks. And the next time we took like half the amount of breaks, and I didn't push her up the hills. And then the next time we took half of the breaks. And this last time, she never stopped. She never took a break. She was hauling ass. The first time that you made the trip was over 2 hours, and this last time was 1 hour and 12 minutes flat.
Yeah.
And you weren't like dead afterwards.
No, I could still walk.
She could still walk. Yeah. The first time we was on one of the hills, I was like, just stand up if your legs get really too tired. She said, I can't. I literally, like, my legs have nothing in them.
I will fall off my bike if I try.
And I looked at her face, I was like, oh God, she really means that. She's telling the truth.
I tried to stand up, and then I just went up and then down.
She just collapsed on her bike. So I'm really proud of you, and I'm amazed. And I hope that your story is an inspiration to many people, that it's never too late. Mm-hmm. You're never old. We just get older, and as we age, there's this beautiful thing that happens, that if we allow it to, we can also stay stuck, which we've seen that happen too. Yeah. But you have this beautiful opportunity to continue to evolve and grow and change and become who you want to be. Like, we get to choose that. And I'm watching you before my very eyes literally look like you look younger and you act younger, and it's like you believe in yourself. So it's like this amazing opportunity that life has given you. And look at you, just, you're not saying, oh, I'm getting older and so I'm going to do less. You're saying, no, I'm doing more. And I love it. And I love my life.
Yeah, I do love it. I do. And I've had to work through the guilt in order to be able to even say I love my life, because I know all the people that were in my former life don't love me loving this life.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so just the guilt that goes along with becoming somebody that nobody else wants you to be is what it felt like.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and so even the freedom of being able to say, like, this is my life and I love it, and you don't have to love it. It's okay.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
There's a lot of freedom in that, and I'm having to I'm having to actively pursue that part of myself right now.
Yes. And I think the cool thing is, you know, the people that are in your life, the few people, because it's that whole thing of like, unless they're in the arena with you, they don't get any say. But the people that are in the arena with you, they're few, but they're amazing. And they're never saying, well, why are you choosing that? They're always just, I'm proud of you. Get it. Go. Find what feels good to you and do that. And so it's important, I think. Rayanne is really trying to take over our podcast. It's important, I think, that people have some support, you know. And if you're in the LGBTQIA plus community, you know, and you don't have that support, to find it. And I hope that this podcast can be a support to all of those people. Find it in whatever ways you can, because like you're saying, we can't always pull ourselves out of these shame spirals and these guilt negative messages. We need somebody sometimes like that is the answer. So I hope this can be an encouragement for everybody on the beautiful month of June, for this amazing community of people that I'm really just honored to be a part of. Because I'm able to see the incredible, I don't know, like you learn these people and you start realizing just how beautiful they are when you can actually see them. And it's like, wow, I can't believe I have missed this my whole life and judged all of this as sin, and like, it's been so screwed up. So to be able to see this community and then be a part of it feels like an honor to me. So it's not like, you know, it's not just like, well, I want to be an ally, you know, like it's I get to be one of you. Doesn't that feel amazing to you?
Well, I was sitting here thinking this could probably even be a separate podcast.
Yes.
But just like I was telling somebody this week, like how life-changing it has been, hard, but life-changing it has been. You and I both came from a certain class, even though, sorry, there's hair tickling me.
You have hair on your head.
I know. How about that? Going from this really privileged, white, middle class female position in our culture to becoming part of a minority class where we had such privilege, even though there were so many hard things in our lives. We could walk into the public and just not even know what privilege we were functioning in. And so now to be part of, like, you and I going out into town and holding hands, crossing Main Street the other day, walking the dog, holding hands, was like, oh crap, I wonder how many people at this stoplight are looking down on us, or what if people yelled things out their windows at us.
Or, they're kind of being a little afraid. Like,
and to feel that little bit of fear, and we're still very privileged, even in that. But to feel that little bit of fear has really opened my eyes to what people have lived under, just a fraction of what people have lived under their whole lives. You know, and some of it they didn't choose to act on. They were born into it, whether it be their skin color or you know, just different things about them that they can't hide. And that shouldn't have to hide. And I don't know, it's a whole big awakening for me.
It gives me a lot of respect. A ton of respect.
A ton of respect.
And the people that have fought for these rights and fought to be seen and had a voice when it was way more dangerous. Like, God, it just blows my mind. And yeah, I do like have a ton of respect. And it does feel really like humbling in a lot of ways to be like, God, I just had no clue.
And that's what has pushed me into this new stance, if you would call it, with all of the different LGBTQIA plus. Like, do I understand all of those? No.
Yeah.
But it's pushed me into this place of like, I don't have to understand.
Right.
Like, it's who they are. It's who they say they are. And then it's so deep within them. Who am I to question the validity of that?
Exactly.
Like, it's just,
Yep.
it's been very humbling and helped me to realize that I shouldn't get to say what's right for them.
Yep.
Like, who do I think I am?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so I think that could be definitely a whole hour-long conversation about it. But it's definitely changed me. Because I didn't wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to explore falling in love with a woman. Like, that's not how it happened.
Yes.
I met this part of myself that I never knew was there. You know, and so it's changed me in a lot of ways, not just relationship. My relationship with myself and my relationship with other people has just changed it. It's totally different.
Been beautiful to watch.
It's been beautiful to watch, I think, in each other even, you know. We have so many conversations, you and Nate and I have so many conversations about how all of this has changed us for the better.
Yes.
And how open our eyes are now compared to before.
Yes. So much goodness. Well, thank you for being willing to come back on the podcast and talk about your fabulous 50.
You showed me your list of topics, and I was like, lessons from a 50-year-old, really? Is that what we have to call it?
Oh, goodness. Well, I hope that people have heard some of this podcast news. It's been really windy today.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be, but hopefully that the recording came out okay. And Rayanne is back to say goodbye to everybody. She has bird poop in her forelock.
Yes, it's dry now, I think. It was fresh when we locked up.
Bird pooped on her head. Sorry, babies. Well, we have some really fun, some more really fun stuff coming up on my podcast, so stay tuned. I've got an incredible woman that will be on next week who is an engineer in Joplin, Missouri, and hopefully you'll get to hear her story. So remember to spread this podcast with all of your friends. And
that's what I wanted to add is I did a really unenthusiastic, calm ask on one of the recent podcasts at the end. But I wanted to just ask you today to pick your favorite episode and just challenge you to send it to a friend and ask them to listen, because even that for me, I realized is helped me walk into the new territory of claiming who I am now.
Yes.
To share a podcast and just say, hey, this was really meaningful to me. Will you listen to it?
Yes, so you're right.
Pick your favorite
Okay.
Pick your favorite Coffee in the Crowd podcast and just share it with somebody that you think might want to listen to
get some
it
value out of it,
and to get some value out of it. Yeah, because I know that ones that we've shared with each other or that other people have shared with me have been some of the most impactful.
It's true.
And some of the most challenging.
It's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hope you guys got some value out of today. I'm sure you did. Jennifer is an amazing woman. And I was trying to think, they always, before they give a podcast, they read the
bio.
Yeah, the bio. And I just I've never read her bio. What is her bio?
Yeah, I was thinking that the other day when I was leading up to this podcast. What would you say to introduce? She's
done a lot of things, and I always think about that's one thing that annoys me about the bios is she has an amazing bio. She has accomplished a lot of things, and she's a badass, and she's badassed in a lot of different ways. But to me, it's the most important things is not what you've accomplished in life. It's like who you are
Who you
today.
are. Yeah.
It's like you showed up and here you are 50 and just getting better and better at loving yourself and being authentic. And that to me is like, that's the best bio. Like, here's Jennifer. She's a badass. Go. But we will at some point. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. What your bio is.
No, you can write my bio.
Okay.
I don't want to write my own.
I'm like, honey,
What?
why not?
Because I want to know what you would say.
Okay. Maybe we'll have an Abigail version and then here's what really happened. All right, guys, we're going to let you go. I hope you have a great week, a really good week, and I hope your summer is just packed full of fun because you deserve it. Anything else you want to say, baby?
Go out there and live your life and make it amazing.
Peace out.